We have today a very special guest with us, Vijay, CTO and founder of Turing.com. More than that, very exciting is that he has seen last 20 years all the NLP research that has gone from very classical and traditional ones to now large language models. And we'd love to curious to learn the insights he has seen from Turing.com and how do they work with knowledge workers to train the most cutting edge recent foundation models. Vijay, thanks for having you. Thanks for coming here, and we'd love to learn more about. Can you give us a brief description, background about yourself, and then I have a bunch of questions today to ask you.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be here. As you said correctly, I have been in the field of machine learning for over 20 years now in both academia and in industry. I used to be an active machine learning researcher back in the day. This was at IIT Bombay, at Stanford, at Yahoo. I published in these conferences like ACL, EMNLP, SIGIR, and so on back in the day. Soon after that, I founded a company in the content recommendation space, which got acquired around 8 or 9 years ago. And Turing is the second company that I have founded. Now, Turing is one of the world's largest talent platforms. We have over 3 million knowledge workers from 100 plus countries around the world. So these span countries in Latin America, Africa, Europe, and various countries in Asia. And knowledge workers from all over the world can sign up on our platform, go through our rigorous testing where we first identify if they are in the top few percent of the world's talent, and number two, what their specific skills are and what are the kinds of jobs that they will excel at. And given that we have a 3 million strong platform and even the top few percent of it means many tens of thousands of really talented individuals, which gives us a lot to work with on the client side. Now on the client side, we do two things. One is we work with most of the leading foundation model companies of today. This includes OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, Microsoft, many others. And what we do for them is we help their models get better by way of expert human data for post-training. We can probably get into details of that more in the course of this interview. And number two, what we do is we are also a product and an AI implementation partner for a number of large enterprises who might not be looking to build their own model, but are looking to adapt a bunch of these technologies toward advancing their business goals. So here we work with companies like today we work with Pepsi, Disney, Johnson & Johnson, Volvo, many others on building various end-to-end products. A lot of them are infused with AI and many of them increasingly with LLMs.
We are reaching a point where it's like getting in front of this data wall where all the publicly available data is like used for unsupervised training has been kind of limited. Mm-hmm. What do you think, what's next coming? What do you have been working with all these large foundation model companies, and what are the internal insights you see, how you can push the cutting edge and make these LLMs to be better reasoners, better than superhuman?
Yeah, great question, David. So you're exactly right. When it comes to a lot of public data, we are very much hitting a data wall. In fact, in some important ways, I would even say that the data wall was probably hit even a couple of years ago. I don't think there was much marginal value left in the public data anyway. So I do think a lot of the competitive advantage in recent times has been coming from putting together proprietary human data for post-training, and it is possible to improve models for coding, debugging, data analysis, function calling, multimodality, tool use, programming language conversion, various other sorts of capabilities that have traditionally been thought of as highly specialized and also need highly specialized workers. What makes this strategy particularly workable is the fact that a lot of the frontier models are able to learn a great deal from as little as a few tens of thousands of SFT or RLHF examples, and often early improvements can be even observed with a few thousand examples. That is precisely what makes a lot of these viable. One does not need the same enormous amount of data that is there in pre-training data from the general internet. It turns out quality in some ways is more important than quantity.
So, well, you know, like in every vertical, you have this expert problem. Like, how do you find this top 1%? And what you're doing is like, as what I understand, is that you take this top 1% of knowledge workers, generate a lot of data, so then the LLMs can be trained on that, and then we can lift everyone to be act like a 1%. Can you tell like how these different techniques, like you have this RLHF, SFT, and then DPO, etc., this human preference basically impacts the LLMs of what is there now, and then with the recent advancements in O1 and agentic reasoning, how do you think the knowledge workers will there be a change on the way they generate the data so you can train these models better?
Yes, certainly as the models have been advancing in capabilities, the nature of the game has been changing, the nature of how you want to involve humans in the loop for improving models has been changing for sure. Like for example, the simplest of things is of course that as model capabilities have changed, certain simpler capabilities and simpler forms of SFT and RLHF data are no longer useful because the models can already do those quite well. Like for example, today it is not particularly useful to generate relatively simple coding and debugging kind of problems, since models can already do that well. Either the models have to be sufficiently complex, or they have to involve reasoning across many files in a complex code base, or something else that is relatively deeper. So yes, I think now when it and the same thing applies, no matter to how you're creating the eval set, how you're doing RLHF, how you're doing DPO, etc. You obviously want to attack areas where the model is not already at something like 80-90% accuracy, because that's not very useful to you. You do want to attack areas that are of business critical importance, where the model is quite weak.
How do you source all this like top experts from the pool of knowledge workers you have?
Yeah, so we are fortunate that this was the basis on which our company was built. Like we are the 6.5-year-old company. Obviously, LLMs have not been around that long, though we've certainly used some of these BERT models and some of the other prior versions of these deep language models in the past in various business applications and even in our internal tech. So over these years, we have built a reputation as the go-to place for the most talented individuals in many of these developing countries to get a job, to have a career and job opportunities that are approaching their Silicon Valley counterparts, for them to have the same sorts of career growth and everything. Yeah, you're exactly right that when it comes to attracting the most talented individuals from all over the world, it's those folks are not just interested in whether something is attractive today. They are very much interested in how that aligns with their long-term career plans. If somebody is a software engineer, can they see themselves reaching the level of a staff engineer or a senior engineer a few years from today? All those have to be an important part of the value proposition. Yeah, fortunately, this was the basis on which we have built at Turing. We are not a gig platform. We only do long-term careers, and that has been very important.
That's pretty impressive. So I remember my PhD days when we had in our lab about 30 domain-specific annotators who were generating these labels on top of the electron microscopy images to train the deep learning models. And one of the key achievements that our lab has achieved in the neuroscience domain, they got one of the first superhuman convolutional neural networks applied in the real domain, that it got better or as good as the top 1 percentile of the annotators. And the question we had internally, okay, so what are we going to do with the annotators? And the same question, like, will the human will be automated? But then surprisingly, what we saw is that these people became they went one step layer higher. So they still, even if you have a superhuman model, you still have errors to be done, and they became error correctors of the neural networks. And then later, once we made the model better, we also trained another model that can do error correction and detection based on the annotator meta level. And then they went the error correctors of the error corrector of the human. Where do you think we stand now in the global foundation model training phase, and how do you see this evolving for the next 5 to 10 years?
So great question, right? I think we have a very, very long way to go before engaging in some severe form of automation of the humans, where we are thinking about what the individuals will do and all that. right now the point is the LLMs are certainly doing a lot of subsets of tasks that only very intelligent individuals do well, and but we are in a bit of a paradox here, because while they are doing that, it is also true that they are not able, they are very very far away from doing the entire set of things that is needed to step in the shoes of even the median worker, or even the below median, even the bottom quartile of workers in the United States. Okay, if you are talking about doing stuff like in the physical world, not white collar work, not work with computers, we have a long distance to go in terms of robotics and perception. There are interesting ideas and interesting lines of research in terms of adapting the foundation model like techniques to robotics, but they have quite some distance to go. If you're talking about white collar kind of work, one still runs into significant, the challenge is not really whether one can solve mathematical Olympiad problems or not. The challenge very much becomes one of, can you do everything end to end? Can you deal with this client? Can you use the computer? Can you do a series of things? And so I anticipate that a lot of advances will be key in multimodality, tool use, error correction, these O1 type of methods, etc. So I think we are in a bit of this paradoxical, like I think people anthropomorphize LLMs more than they should. Like with a human, for example, if you were to interview a human, this individual were to be able to, were very mathematically gifted, were able to answer frontier level questions, were able to do Olympiad problems, etc. You would have no concern that this individual, whether this individual knows how to use a computer. This individual would not require a lot of SFT examples on how to use a computer or how to use one specific program and so on. Today, I think a lot of those gaps have to be covered. Until those are covered, one is very much looking at LLMs as a co-pilot to automate portions of an individual's work, to make their job more efficient and so on. And honestly, I feel like humans have been saying this for centuries. Hey, these machines will take our job. Let's sew clothes by hand. Let's not have a sewing machine. I mean, all sorts of things. Yeah. So some of these things could very much come to pass in a few years, but there's at least a few years of advances, in my opinion, that are needed.
I don't know if you have seen this meme where like Elon Musk saying that, hey, in 2016, in 3-5 years, we're gonna have self-driving cars driving you without any drivers. Then Hinton came and said, hey, next 5 years, we're gonna have all the radiologists gonna be replaced, and it's still 2024 where radiologist goes into the car and drives to the hospital to help them. So I think coming to this question as well, you have seen like a lot of people talk about the compute bottleneck, about the data bottleneck that you're actually helping to solve and push the frontiers. But there's also, everyone says about the talent bottleneck and getting the algorithmic efficiencies for that, building these language models from the fundamental till training them, etc. And there's no any recipe how to get this top 1% of team to actually train those and build the team that can build the AI automation in your organization. I think taking a step back, I'm curious, what's your expertise? You have been hiring in recruiting space for so long time. How to build a top 1% team in AI for the enterprise?
So the game has definitely been changing substantially, right? It depends a great deal of even on what enterprise one is talking about. If one is talking about traditional enterprises, sometimes it might make sense for them to get the kind of AI talent that can help them build their own models, etc. In many other cases, such a question can be deferred completely, and the real question becomes whether they can put together teams that can build good products and solutions for them that use today's AI technologies. Now, I mean, you're certainly right that I think we do, like traditionally, for example, we found that having a strong grounding in the mathematical foundations, understanding the algorithms, understanding the optimization, all that has been certainly quite key to being effective in the machine learning space. Today, I think that still continues to be quite key, but because of the rather emergent behavior that comes from LLMs, I think there's a certain breed of a person who is good at tinkering, who's good at putting together good quality evaluation sets, measuring how well something is doing, testing various prompts, testing various other sorts of approaches, comparing different models, comparing them for accuracy, cost, all those other things, and being able to deploy solutions, which becomes quite valuable. I do think a lot of large enterprises really have enormous low-hanging fruit to pick in this particular direction. Like in an ideal world, I mean, in a more stable sort of equilibrium, you would expect that for every $1 of infrastructure spend, there's probably $10 of application spend. Today, that is nowhere to be seen, right? That looks crazy to me because yes, while LLMs cannot do everything, they can do certain important things extremely well, and there's no reason to not build applications and get business value from those today.
So another question is like, how do you apply AI internally? How do you make your organization to be more efficient using AI today? And what are the real ROI benefits that you have seen versus all the hype that's all around?
Yeah, so look, I think different tasks have different levels of reliability, right? There's a large number of instances where you have some sort of a recommendation system, a rule-based system, some other kind of scoring, ranking kind of system where nobody expected 99.9% accuracy anyway to begin with. We all for example, even with a vetting system, right? We generally speaking attempt to get as high precision as we can with the best possible recall. But I guarantee there are good individuals who failed our vetting, which okay, at least in this imperfect world we live in, we are willing to live with that. So using generative AI in a lot of these places, I think is a very, very obvious first step, because nobody had expectations regarding 99.9% accuracy anyway. You had these old school supervised machine learning models, or you had rules, or you had heuristics or something else. You can probably do a lot better than that. We have certainly found this useful in developer ranking and recommendations. We have found this useful for putting together version 1 of various proposals for a client, right? Like often, for example, in an enterprise context, your clients have an idea, they want to get some V1 of, is this does this ROI of this make sense at all, and get some sense of costs and timelines and things like that. And version 1 of a plan can be very much generated via generative AI, right? Like, and if it seems like the costs and the benefits are roughly in line, one can put more human firepower behind it. There are other use cases as well. Certainly, I mean, needless to say, there's developer productivity, and those are things that everybody talks about. We too, for example, gave a talk in the last 2 Google Cloud Next conferences where we reported that we had seen something like a 33% productivity gain for developers when the LLMs were used properly, when you customized it to their individual code bases, you trained them to make the most of it, etc. So there's a lot of things like this. I think the key thing is to really recognize what are the reliability requirements of a particular use case, how well are LLMs doing there, and whether you're using it in the right way. Today I feel like there are far too many instances where people think about use cases where 99.9% accuracy is used, and they try to replace a human directly, then come back saying, well, this is not working. So yeah, I think it is important for people to understand both the strengths and the limitations of LLMs, and use them in a manner that plays to their strengths.
One last question I have, and I'm curious what your opinion is. Let's suppose we automate everything and the humans are out of the loop. What do you think will be the main objective for a human to be alive? Like, some people say it will be the source of the will. Some people say it will drive the curiosity to the research findings and cutting the edge. What do you think how this whole AI revolution will play out?
Look, this is a very this is an interesting idea. We know sociologically, for example, that humans do need to have some kind of purpose, etc. So I'm quite skeptical about ideas like just a pure basic income and all that. But so, I mean, to me, this honestly looks more like science fiction than anything else, right? Like, people have been talking about this sort of thing for a long time, but humans have always sort of adapted and figured out ways to do new things. Ultimately, society as a whole has just been able to produce more. right? Like when the United States was founded, 70% of the United States was into farming and agriculture. Now it's like 1 or 2%. Now it's not like you have a 68% unemployment. People just, society found a way to engage them more gainfully. So yes, I do believe a world in which people don't have productive things to do would be one where there's riots and social unrest, but I do not think that is a real risk. I think people will adapt. I mean, in fact, back in the day, right, like people used to speculate that with the machines doing so much, people will only work 20 hours a week, but that's not happened either.
Now we have people working 100 hours per week
yeah.
to get things done.
Right.
No, Vijay, thanks a lot for coming here and awesome work that you're doing at Turing.com and pushing the boundaries of now helping all these LLMs to be on the 1 percentile of their knowledge expertise in each vertical. And great for sharing the insights.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.